What is up, Williams Baptist University? You're listening to the Williams Pulse podcast. My name is Nolan Williams. I'm a student here at Williams, and I'm joined by staff member Bill Jeffrey, and our guest today is women's basketball coach John Mayberry. So we're going to run you through the events happening over the next 2 weeks, and then we will get into the interview with Coach Mayberry.
This week on Monday, we have men's open dorm at 7 p.m.
And then Tuesday, the lunch highlight is Spain. And then we'll also have the spring band concert at 6 in Manley Chapel.
Then Wednesday, we have chapel, and it is Sending Chapel at 11 o'clock.
All right. And then Thursday, we have Academic Preparation Day, which is just like our dead day, right?
I think so.
Okay. Yep. So Thursday, we have our academic preparation.
If not, it is now. We speak things into existence around here.
Well, I was going to redo it, but never mind then. We also have women's open dorm that night, and then a PM worship service in the Moody Room.
And then on Friday, the finals begin.
Blech.
And then Saturday, softball at 12 and 2. And then let's move into next week.
We're going to do next week as well?
Yep.
So Monday, we have a study break / puppy day at 12 in the SSC.
And then Tuesday, we have a lunch highlight, and it's Venezuela.
And then Wednesday is the last day of finals.
Which means Saturday is graduation or commencement, depending on how proper you are.
Wow.
The end of the semester is here.
That's wild.
Yep. So
Are you serious? That's it?
that's it. This last week was crazy.
Yeah.
The next 2 weeks are they're gonna feel crazy, but we don't have a lot of events going on, which
Yeah.
is gonna be nice. So
this next week is the last full week of classes.
that also means for future students, there is still time to register.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you should register. You should register by this Friday, because that would be awesome. So go to williamsbu.edu/registration and sign up today. All right, Nolan, you ready to move into our interview with Coach John Mayberry?
Let's do it.
Here it is. John, how are you, man?
Doing well. Good morning.
Good morning. Were you at the gym this morning?
I was.
Dude, you're always at the gym. Every single morning, right?
That's right.
Okay, why?
Part of it started, I guess, after I left here, after I graduated and went home.
What year was that?
I left in 08, finished like 09, technically. I had a class that I was still taking, correspondence course. But I went home and I got in management with Dick's Sporting Goods, and one of the guys there was training and doing some CFL stuff, and he was over team sports, and we actually went to high school together, but I was a little older than him. We just got close, and we started working out together, and when I came back, I just continued on with that, and I've just always done it.
Yeah. So you tried to whip me into shape in 2018 at the gym when I was a bigger dude. And I remember one time you said something that stuck with me. You said, if I don't work out that day, I don't feel right.
And I still feel that way. Even to this day, I mean, even on the road with basketball, every morning, get up, hotel, go to the. We don't stay in a hotel that doesn't have a workout facility.
That's
so
important.
It is, and so even I prefer at least dumbbells or something.
Mm-hmm.
I can do some body weight exercises and things like that, but I try to stay in the same place, the same hotels, no matter where we travel. But that's one thing I always check before we.
For the reward points.
No, just because I like either the breakfast or
Sure.
how clean it is, or it's relatively close to where we need to be technically.
Are the girls pretty picky when it comes to hotels as well?
No, because they kind of just go with whatever I go with, and I've always took care of them. And part of that comes from Coach Halford as an assistant. Coach Halford always took care of us and wanted to stay in a quality place that was really clean and had a good breakfast, and so I just kind of carried that tradition along. So
Yeah.
I learned from a very wise, experienced woman.
She is very wise.
So, of course, after somebody hears that you go to the gym every morning, the first question is, how much do you bench?
Now, it's a little different as I've gotten older. Like, I don't focus so much on that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not out of the question for me to lay down and just work out with like 225, on the bench. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Not a max thing, but I would say probably 6 or 7 years ago, I got to where I was lifting really heavy, and I worked a pyramid scheme and bench press from lightweight to heavyweight back down to light. And at the heaviest at that time, I was doing I'd start with 12, so I'd go 12, 10, 8, 6, all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rep 315 twice and then go back down. So,
Wow.
And at that point, I probably weighed about 185 pounds, 190 pounds. I wasn't real big, but part of it was the consistency. You know, you just work that, that same muscle, and it's just kind of a repetition, and it knows what to do. And so it's just kind of, that's how it went. So, but as I've gotten older, like I've backed off those things, and it's not I don't just enjoy, I don't want to just lay down there and throw a bunch of heavy weight. It's not important to me anymore to do that. So when it was at first, it was like, I wanted these, wrestlers or guys to walk in here and see this much weight on the bar.
For sure.
It was more of I wanted them to be impressed, when that doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah.
So
I just want to be able to unrack 315 and like feel it in my hands. Like
it was I did it a couple times, and then I changed what I was doing, and then I never went back. So
Gotcha.
I moved into a dumbbell phase, and then I never went back to benching that much. So like yesterday, I think the max I had on there was I'm doing something a little different now. I start heavy, and I go heavy, moderate with negatives, and then a high rep with a low weight. And so that's different than what I've ever done. And so starting heavy has been an adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only repping 5 to 6 reps. And so I start 235, 240.
Okay.
Just kind of depends, but it's very different, changing to that style.
For sure.
I guess you would say to that method. So it feels weird.
Yeah.
So it's not normal for me.
Do you have the same expectations for your players to be in the gym often, or maybe more so than coaches who don't hit the gym like you do?
No, yes and no to some extent. My wife is very. She's reminded me several times that, not just players, but people in general, they're not going to necessarily do things the way I do. And sometimes that was aggravating, especially when I took over.
Only because it was coming from your wife.
Especially when I took over as the head coach for women, understanding that everybody's not going to be as intense about it as I am. Everybody's not going to look at it the same. And so what I've tried to do is take an approach to, okay, what's going to maximize results? Just like I would want to maximize my results in the weight room, how can I maximize results for players, because every one of them is different, and how can I get the most out of them?
Well, let's assume that no coach is going to listen to this to steal your secrets from another school.
Oh, okay.
What's the secret recipe to maximize results out of your team? Because you obviously did that this year.
That's a matter of opinion. To mine, I guess every coach always wants more and wants to be better. But I think one thing that I've learned with the girls, if they're happy and they enjoy what they're doing and they feel good, that's a good place to start. It's, we definitely, mental health is a big thing right now that we're dealing with in our society. And I wouldn't say avoid those issues, but dealing with those issues right off the bat, and confronting those issues and not letting those things drag out, because that affects, I think, their emotional state and how they come to practice and how they feel about practice and everything that they do. And so I think just when they feel valued, when they feel happy, when they enjoy being a part of it and what you're doing, I think that's the first part of the battle.
Do you have any examples of how you do that, or how you go about ensuring that they are cared for?
Love them.
Yeah.
Sometimes having, when you look at old school kind of the style of coaching, and I can remember, hearing stories from Coach Alford and other coaches, how they talk about that generation, like you didn't speak to the coach. Like it was very little communication. Like you just came in, you practiced, you played, and you went on. I mean, it was a head nod across campus, maybe a small wave, like that kind of stuff. And that we're talking, the earlier eras, and especially in small school. But I think not doing that now, like having communication, speaking to them on a personal level, talking about, what's going on with your life, what's going on with some relationships, what's going on in class, what's going on with your family. Just building that relationship that really has nothing to do with basketball pretty much whatsoever. It does long term,
sure,
but it doesn't in the moment. And so I think that's part of feeling valued. I'm a shoe guy and an apparel guy, and I like to have clothes, and I've learned that girls like those things as well. And so taking care of them, with travel gear and things like that, and practice gear, like they enjoy that stuff. Like they like to have nice things. And I'm sure all, players do. But just little things like that, stuff that we can do. To me, and I know you guys have worked in enrollment and been in admissions and done some things, but, giving a student a T-shirt, makes them feel appreciative when they come to visit campus. It makes them feel welcome and like you want them here. And it works the same, to me.
Yeah. What's your favorite brand when it comes to like apparel? Like, give me your shoe brand, and then give me your clothing brand.
I'm a Nike and a Jordan guy. I mean,
okay.
I always. So I've always.
Who's Jordan?
No, I'll just pretend like you didn't say that.
I watched Jordan live in the '90s on TV with my dad. Okay. So I'm a big Michael Jordan fan. He'll always be the GOAT.
Definitely. That's kind of where I came up in the era. Early '90s, and that's kind of been I've just always liked that stuff, and so I've always. That's what we get a lot of.
Yeah, shoes too.
Shoes. One thing that I found with shoes, for me personally, yes, but I think that's one thing that is different for us that kind of sets us apart from other teams. And what you find is one generation of coaches don't like that. They always bought a team shoe, so everybody had the exact same shoe, which is great when you think about team unity and doing things the same way, but they're not all comfortable. And they hurt your feet, and they rub blisters at spots, and you're a runner, so
no.
Well,
I'm a cyclist.
You're a cyclist.
I ran today,
so
but that doesn't count.
So shoes or different shoes fit and feel different. Yeah. And so one thing with the girls, like I let them pick their own shoes. I just say within this color scheme and of the university, and but you can get what you want in that situation, and because it's just one of those things that make them feel comfortable. And I think if they're comfortable, getting them to play hard is easy.
I recently watched that movie Air. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a great movie. You can't have a certain amount of color on your shoe, or you couldn't.
Right.
Is that still the case? Like, are they still limited in what they can do with designs and colors?
No, that's not for. Not anymore. I mean, that was still a thing within the last, 10, 15 years as far as big time, like NBA. Like, there were some restrictions.
Okay.
But now, no, not that I'm aware of. There may be something I'm not aware of, but not in college basketball. There's not. The biggest thing right now is, which is actually, they just ruled on it for NAIA, but undershirts. Like, if you wear an undershirt or leggings or things like that, originally they had to be the primary color of the jersey, which is kind of a pain because what you tend to find is the colors don't quite match up.
Yeah.
And so, if you unless you're wearing white and white, but a gray jersey, you can't find necessarily a gray undershirt that is the exact same color. So it's like your jersey may be a lighter gray and your undershirt may be a dark gray.
I don't want to sound vain myself, but what you wear when you work out or perform in front of people matters, I think. So I could see where having that slightly off, or you're just not feeling comfortable with how you look, and you got so many spectators going on. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have understood that 5 years ago, but now I'm like, no, I don't want to look silly. Well, and that really does, that can affect your performance.
Yeah, a lot of not just girls, but even men. You see, even in college basketball, they like to wear an undershirt. When I was playing here for Coach Ryder, I wore a T-shirt, a white T-shirt undershirt, like not now like a performance T-shirt, but like just a plain Hanes or Fruit of the Loom cotton T-shirt. Like, and a lot of guys that I played with at the time, they wore cutoff shirts, so they just cut the sleeves off whatever shirt and they wore it under their, whatever their favorite shirt or whatever they brought from high school or whatever. But me, I just wore plain white. Actually, at that time, it was probably a Foot Locker T-shirt, to be honest with you. But me and another guy on our team always wore that. Jermaine Templeton, a guy I played with that graduated and alum, and we were both really the only two that did that. So, I mean, you still had the big white sleeves coming out of your shirt and all. So.
Yep. So this is swapping tracks just a little bit, but what led you to become a women's basketball coach at Williams Baptist University?
Well, when I came back, Angela Flippo hired me when I came back in, and I actually started in admissions. And the first year, one of our other alumni, at the time we didn't have a full-time assistant. He was stipend, and he was actually a student. It was Coach Shipman, who's now an athletic director at Paragould. But he was Coach Halford's assistant, and at the time, and he was graduating. And so after that, towards the end of that first year, Coach Alford, she knew I played, and we had a somewhat of a relationship. But that summer, when I first came back, we really got to know each other, and because I helped her with some camps and refereeing and some things. And then through the school year, we talked quite a bit. And then when Coach Shipman was graduating, she asked if I was interested in helping, and that's kind of where it started. And, I've always loved basketball, and the idea of helping and being involved with something like that was it was no desire to coach women or coach men. It was just the fact that I got to be around basketball and keep doing it is what started it. And then it just kind of progressed from there, and we had some good teams, and which made me more excited. And it was good for me at that time because I was also working for Miss Flippo in admissions, and so it gave me kind of a different balance in life to something that was completely different than what I spent most of my day doing. So most of my day I worked in admissions, and then afternoons or nights was basketball. So it really was something that kind of helped shift or offset my day, and was more of a fast-paced, high-speed kind of thing, and it was different. And so it just progressed from there. And when Coach Alfred decided to step down and retire from basketball, at that time, Dr. Jones was president, and she had talked to me about taking over, and it just kind of went from there, and here we are.
Well, so how was it transitioning? Because Coach Halford was a coach for a long period of time. So how was that transition, like taking on her legacy a little bit?
It was definitely it was different. I'm the third women's head coach that's ever been here. Coach Winters, who was before, was female, and then Coach Halford female, and then me being male. Obviously, that was a little different for the institution as well. But one of the things, Coach Halford, when she gave me the reins, she just gave it to me. Like, she stepped away completely. She wasn't, micromanaging me or helicoptering, over me, making sure I was doing this and doing that. And I mean, she gave me some space. One of the things that kind of helped, it just happened to be with the transition, it just worked out that way, was the recruiting class that we had. We had graduated several of seniors that year, and so there was a big gap. And a lot of, towards the end of Coach Alfred's coaching career, she kind of turned over a lot of the recruiting to me. And so I had really good relationships with some of the underclassmen that was coming in, just from the recruiting process, which, some of that group would have been Melanie McEwen, Kate Junkersfield in that group, Katie Ferguson, all alum. But when they came through, they were all, that group were freshmen. And so that kind of helped, and that was just nothing to do with me and Coach Alfred. It just kind of worked out that way. But she was very supportive from a distance. Anything I needed, any questions I had, anything with concerns, I could, even to this day, I mean, I think 7 years later, I could still come to her and ask her those same questions or anything that comes about. She's definitely very wise and had a lot of experience. But she gave me the freedom and again, watched from a distance. And but that was really it.
So you said yes to taking up the assistant coach position, and then fast forward to this year, and you find yourself taking our first team to the NAIA national tournament. So there's been a lot of publicity around all that. What I want to know is, how did you feel? Maybe it was that day, maybe it was the day after, like that the tournament was over. Like what feelings were tied up there for you?
Tired. It was a long season, in some aspects very successful.
I think in every aspect successful, but
I tell people that, ask similar questions. I've kind of felt like the last few years we've kind of been right there. We just needed a little push to get over the peak. And I didn't think we could really get any closer. I just thought, okay, we'll be at the peak for us, where we've been. And I kind of look at it now and I'm like, well, actually we just got closer. We still didn't get, having the opportunity, the chance to win the conference and the chance to win the conference tournament and then going on to the national tournament. You still want to win. You want to win.
Yeah.
You want to win the conference and you want to win the conference tournament. And I thought we were obviously right there. We just, fell short a few points here and there at the end, and we just took another step closer to being at the top in the league. But it was definitely exciting. We have a great group of girls, and we're fortunate to return all those. We have one senior this year, so they're all coming back in. But again, I think a lot of it has to do with the roster, with the girls you have, because to me, that's what makes it fun and enjoyable. We've had some teams that chemistry-wise, they didn't quite get along always the best. They were fine, they were professional on the court and things like that, but the cohesiveness wasn't quite there outside of basketball, and those are rough. Like,
that affects the game big time.
It does, and it's rough on my end,
yeah.
Emotionally, mentally, because if they're upset about things and frustrated, then I'm upset and frustrated about things. I go about showing it, I guess, a different way. Maybe that's where the gym and the weight room comes in handy too.
As your therapist.
And so you get to think through some of those things and how to handle them. But they've just, the last couple of years, they've been really fun to be around as people, as young women. They're just as much involved, with mine and Kimberly's life, with our Kobe, with our family. I wouldn't say they love him like a little brother because he's so young at that age, but they take care of him, like he's, part of their life and part of their family. And it's funny, you'll find this funny. So we're watching the Iowa game the other night, and so Kobe doesn't understand, at 4, he doesn't understand, he knows his basketball, and he's watching, and we're watching the game, and he's like, Dad, he said, he was looking at the TV, and he says, where's Kaylee? Why is she not on the TV? And he's talking about Kaylee Clark.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I had to explain to him. I said, son, she's not playing right now, And I said, if she was playing, then Dad wouldn't be home. He would be with her. And he's like, oh, okay. And so, but he didn't understand why she wasn't playing basketball on the TV. So,
yeah. Well, I'm glad he watches y'all's games on TV.
Yeah.
Does he get to make a lot of the games?
He does. This year we're very fortunate, schedule-wise, with Kimberly. She was able to go to quite a bit and bring him. And so now that he's, getting to move around and walk around a lot more and, into things, and he'll watch some. But, of course, he's wants to be on the iPad a little bit and play his games and play in the bleachers. But, yeah, it's definitely, obviously I want him to play. And so my thoughts are just trying to keep him around it, whether it's girls or guys or in the gym or just watching it and seeing it, and maybe he'll be interested in it.
Yeah.
So
now Kimberly, she's a Williams alum, and she played on the basketball team. Is she? Is she like a mentor to these girls, or is she just on the sidelines and they're just super proud of where the program is? What's her take?
Yes, and I think that's kind of progressed too over her relationship. Early on, it was kind of like she's involved, she's supportive of me, but she was trying to figure out what her role was, and it was kind of my thing, and she supported me, and I've kind of seen that grow over these past 7 years as well, to where she's highly involved and she's active and she wants to be at every game and she doesn't want to miss games, and I think that has to do too with just how her relationship's grown with players. I mean, she was close, with a few of those other ones I mentioned earlier, with Melanie and Kate and Ashlyn Ellis and some of that group that came through. So they had some relationship, but with this group, I mean, it's like she knows everybody. She knows details about. She talks to all of them, and so it's a little different. But you just kind of seen that grow over the past 7 years.
Awesome.
So,
well, Coach, thank you for your time. Anything else you want to add?
Not a problem. I mean, I'm excited to continue to move forward. So we've got a couple of good ones coming in that we've signed for next year already. One young lady excited about that I tried to get last year, and she went on to play at a Division II school, and just kind of had a change of heart. Wanted to be closer to home, and coming back this way. She played for an alumni, Josh Bateman, who's an alumni who I played with, that coaches at Salem, and so she's coming in, and it's good to kind of have that connection too, I think, with our alumni. And
and a lot of the sponsors for the team, they're your friends who are business owners now, right?
They are.
Has that been fun to kind of see that side of things too, and to grow those areas?
It has. And we've been definitely blessed and fortunate in that aspect, because they've been very supportive of the program and of me and the team, and it's kind of been neat because they've ended up getting involved, and it's really interesting because they're asking me about players and they're texting me asking me questions, and they'll look at the box scores and see, well, this girl didn't shoot it well. Is she okay? You know, what's wrong? It's like, is she feeling okay? And why didn't this girl play? And, you know, well, she's got the flu. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? So
You're my sponsors, not my directors, guys.
they're definitely invested. And so,
That's good.
But again, it brings more of a family environment. You know, and when we're on the road and they can show up and be a part and, you know, maybe even eat dinner with us and things like that, like it's nice to have that aspect. And part of it is most of the guys I'm close with, a lot of them are business owners, but they're involved, whether it's in school boards or even education or coaching themselves. And so it's just another one of those things that helps with recruiting. I mean, you know, they're telling me all the time, well, I saw this girl play such and such team, you know, you might, want to check her out. And it makes it easier in a small school with, you know, a two-person staff to have those connections and those friends that of course love the school and the support of the school too. So,
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Thank
you.
you.
Probably have a class to go get to and teach.
I do.
What class is it?
Kinesiology.
Okay.
No, well, we're in exercise phys. I teach kines and I teach exercise phys. In the spring is exercise physiology.
All right. Nolan, make note of that for your class schedule next year.
There you go.
That's the opposite side of the campus.
There you go. So, elective. You need upper level elective. There you go.
Awesome. Hey, well, thanks, Coach.
Thank
have a good
you.
day.
Thank you.
This has been
And we'll continue to be
the Williams Pulse.